Hey guys, I don't know if the chat's working over here on my side. Doesn't look like it is. Unless no one's just chatting. Hey Ghost. Hey. Seems like every time I come on here, I got a black shirt on. I own about 50 of them. I started buying them when I started getting a little heavier. Hey Rage. Sorry to hear that, Cassie. So guys, just kind of decompressing. Music City Mom, hey. Just kind of decompressing. Today we're on the trolleys, 600s. Woke up this morning with a lot of pain in my left shoulder and like in the middle of me, right? Like just inside. It's just like, oh man. It is actually afternoon. Thank you. Hey, Kitty. Of course, I got up and you ought to see the harvest of cucumbers I have. I was going to mention, does anybody have a pickle recipe, a homemade pickling recipe? I want to make like bread, and I want to do some dill, but then I want to do like some, put some little onions in it and maybe some carrots. And, I've got enough for, I don't even know how many quarts. I've got so many cucumbers. It's insane. Thank you, Vintage. Yeah, guys, I spoke with Don this morning. He went to do his church thing, and he was feeling spry this morning. So that's a beautiful thing, because it would be so easy. 1,606. Yeah, jalapeno. I was thinking about doing that too. Give me just a moment, guys. So what we're gonna do today? Yeah, they're okay. I can't eat too many of them, but my wife, she loves them. So I need a good homemade pickle recipe. That's what I need. I mean, I need it. It really would be a shame for all the work I've put into this garden to let my cucumbers go bad, because last year we made some. What did we make? Cucumber Bonnie and Clyde. Sad business, bro. I don't know what you're talking about, bro. So, the awesome, masterful Ben Cardall, Christmas pickles. Amy, Altitude, ALTITUDEFILMZ. That's what I've been looking for. Right there is Grandma's recipe. I'm going to put it in right here. At Gmail. Altitude Films. But what the? Well, hold on, man. Hold on. Is it Bonnie or Clyde I'm talking to? Just hold on a minute. Easy. All I was saying was that you got your comments capitalized, right? Doesn't that mean in the YouTube world you're screaming, right? That's all. Chill out. It's too early. Put your pistol back in your holster, bud. I like you too. All right, so here we go. We are going to take a look. Both. What's it matter? Actually, man, I have heard about you, and I've heard what comes with y'all. So I'm not really interested in having it around here. Y'all can beat it. Okay. There's my email address, lovely, for your grandmother's recipe. So I like red hot cinnamon candles. Never even heard of them. I don't know. I've had red hot cinnamon toothpicks. That's about all I've had. Yeah, no, I've heard a lot of stuff about, I don't know, like I've just heard a lot of people talking poopy about Bonnie and Clyde. I don't know what their deal is. I don't even want to know. So don't come over here with that professional commenting attitude like that, my boy. I'll kick you and your old lady up out of here. Both of y'all looking ass. All right. Smoke them if you got them. We'll probably be here about an hour, guys. So here we go. I am going to be monitoring the chat a little bit. And we're just going to get through this. I feel like it's so important for people to see Mr. Cardall's work. And unfortunately, this one, not a lot of people have seen it. So without further ado, let me pull up the video over here. Guys, you know the deal too. If my computer decides she wants to put the boot to me, just be patient. We'll come back in and we'll make it crack like a horse whip. All right, here we go. Now, I want to say that a lot of you, I know a lot of my guys and gals, rather gals. We don't have any guys. My gals, a lot of them know about Ben Cardall. Patty H, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so here we are, guys. Ben Cardall. Go ahead and tell me in the chat if you can hear this audio. Is the baby asleep? Okay. So my baby's asleep. So I've got to get in here and get out. Let me move this caption here. Okay. Can you guys hear? Yes, one. Thank you, Rage. Okay, here we go, guys. I'm going to pull up the chat over here so I can still monitor what's going on. Moderators, slang iron if you need to. We are not doing it this morning, all right, guys? Okay. So, pull up the chat here. We're not doing it. Okay, here we go, guys.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another video. It'll be fairly late on in the day when you see this, as wedding plans are consuming us.
Now, just to preface it, guys, Mr. Cardall and his wife, they just got married. So I'm just going to skip forward a little bit, and we will we'll just start. Hold on one second, guys. Sorry. Okay, so here we go.
you're in the situation yourself, you have no idea. No idea, because that is a wildly extreme situation to be in, regardless of guilt or innocence. Right? It's a wild, other end of the spectrum kind of scenario. And you've got everyday occurrences over here, and your daughter goes missing for so long. I should point out that this.
Can you guys still hear it? I got somebody saying they can't hear. Can you hear? Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear that gentleman speaking. Okay, thank you. All right, here we go.
This drum throne that I'm sat on is that's the thing that's creaking. It's not actually me. I realise that I am getting older and older and older. My bones don't actually make this noise yet. Anyway, with that in mind,
I know she didn't walk away from this property by herself or off this yard by her swing. I feel in my heart that somebody has came up here and took her, has lured her away from here. Me and my mother and her were playing flowers. And we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from Grandma. And
so there's a lot of sadness in her voice, a lot of sadness in her eyes, a lot of lack of focus.
I want to just stop right here and make mention, guys, that the reason why I think Mr. Cardall's baseline to start on the Wells is so good is because he doesn't start right out like every other body language expert analyst, where he starts out by saying, oh, they look like they're on some sort of downer or this and that. You have to imagine by this time there had been many nights with no sleep. There had been many nights of constant harassment. When you're not sleeping well, you're not eating well. Your whole functions are off. So, shouts out to Ben for his for his angle. He came in due north, and that's what I appreciate about him.
To the expression, revivifying the story that she's telling at that moment. We can tell from her skin that she's not that expressive anyway. She smokes. Weird pupillary action going on, given the lighting that is outside anyway, but we're into it in a few seconds.
So he's trying to create a baseline for what would be her characteristics, taking into an account, if you look over here, the sun is directly in their face. So they're pointed west. So you've got the sun right there on them. That's usually typically how, you like to set up for a camera so that you get the best resolution and all. So there were some things playing into what could have been going on with her eyes, like he said, due to the sun.
And she wanted to go back over and see her brothers. And I said, okay. And I walked her all the way over to the porch. And I watched her walk into the kitchen where the boys were watching TV. And I told the boys, I said, watch Summer. I'll be back. And
Can't see. Oh, sorry.
In 2 minutes, I came back. And I asked the boys where their sister was. And they said, she went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom. I said, okay. And I yelled downstairs for her a couple times. And I didn't get no answer, which was unusual because usually she always answers me. And so I went down there to check, and she was nowhere. She was just gone. I don't go on walks around here.
That was genuinely felt. Nowhere in sight. You probably can't see it as much with the black clothes and my beard, but how it drops, gone. Real kind of shock in that moment.
Walks around here or runs because I'm scared of the bears.
It looks like she's right on the edge of crying.
And even the coyotes that are around here. Well, whoever has my daughter, I pray and hope that they have not harmed her. If they
See, I had a hard time with the whole she must be on something. Her speech is spot on, right? Her cadence and her delivery, it seems spot on, right? There's just she's just tired, is what I believe. You know, that's the first thing that comes to my mind, is knowing the situation and the time that's elapsed from day dot to this. There hasn't been a lot of sleep and nutrition and all those other things. So, you know, really the deprivation of rest is what we're looking at here. That's my opinion. You know, who am I, right? But what we know is after having had dealt with the CPS, there were no downers or any Xanax or any of that stuff in her system. So we know, as far as sedatives and downer pills, that wasn't in play on the day that she gave a urine analysis. Neither her or Don had any sort of benzodiazepines or any Valium or anything, barbiturates of any sort.
bring her back to us safe and sound.
Just trying, go to the FBI, the police, and clear it up. You know, it seems kind of elusive.
It's really strange that I've never seen this drug, and I've never heard of it until just recently. But I wish they would come forward and explain herself. I mean, if you're not a suspect, at least come forward and say what you
Lots
think.
of weird blinking motions going on. The blink rates are fairly steady, considering the tense scenario that's going through them at the moment.
See, this guy's not even finding an issue with you know, the rapidness of her blinking or the lack thereof. A lot of times your you know, your eyes, they blink in rhythm. You know, they blink it, they're on their own rhythm, but when you're speaking, they'll blink on a rhythm of some sort, and he's very capable of seeing that rhythm, that rhythmic association between the two. So that's, you know, we'll keep watching.
Which you would expect, given the way that whatever emotion that we have going through us is equally related to energy that we're expending at that particular time, right? So it's going to leak out in faster moments if you're trying to.
That's a good point, Mike. That is another facial gesturing that will be kind of designed into one's the way that they project themselves to others. If they're embarrassed about their teeth, then a lot of times you'll see people, when they laugh, they'll cover their mouth, or you know, they'll speak in a way where they keep their lip over their teeth so that you can't see them. So I agree with that, Mike. That also that's a good.
Control yourself in the way that she is. Her left eye seems to be dragging behind. That could be a medical thing. That could be a number of things. That's curious. I'd like to know more about the dad's illustrating behavior at the minute, because he's got a lot of asymmetrical stuff going on with his shoulders. That's something for us to monitor moving forwards. This could just be his default setting in terms of how he moves, how he illustrates his speech.
She was a tomboy. I shaved my head. She wanted to have her head shaved like me and the boys did.
She tried to say.
Now, to answer Miss Aroha, yes, when you initially come out, you know, come outside in the morning and it's sunshiny, it's bright out. Initially, yes, you will blink in rapid succession until your eyes become, you know, focused and you know, does what it does in order to allow you to now adjust and navigate in the sun. So That's a good question too, but you'll see here that actually the sun it's more right here in a crescent. So it's more in Don's face. And you'll see that as the camera moves, that it's really that the sun is behind a tree or something. It's got an obstruction, and Don is the one that's getting most of that. So we'll move on.
Shave her head.
She tried
In
to
the
shave her
back.
head.
That was an intense change. I pray to God whoever has my daughter hasn't harmed her. She was a tomboy.
It's not
And make
herself.
it, I think you can see it.
There, you can see the sun is really on Don. He's got a bit of perspiration. You can see the sun, the actual glare of the sun on his eyes, and he looks to even be pink sitting there, being exposed to it. We have no way to gauge how long they sat there before they got everything, set up to go. You can see he's been mic'd and all that, and there's wires running all around, and they may even have a light on them now, or a foil or something that's helping assist in the distribution of light. Although you can see that Candus is not getting near the same sun. Like I said before, come off of his hat here. All of this in behind, he's just right in it. Babe, I'll be able to hear. He'll knock on the door. So, Don's clearly in the sun.
Some of the pictures, and it was getting out of control. So we decided to shave her head off and let it grow back long. And she shaved her head so she wouldn't feel bad. And, but it didn't bother her at this point. Well, I knew right away that she.
So there was a cut there in the original news media, guys. I don't know if you saw that, but those are the kind of things as a creator that I see. You're missing the questions that are being asked. You're missing everything that they don't want you to see, whatever that is.
I knew that right.
Hold on, guys. I'm gonna check the chat while my wife is pulling the car. Yeah, they cut split screens. Inside of the editing software, you can actually, pan the camera to someone else. As long as you've got a wide shot, you can zoom it in on her or him or whatever. So you're missing some portions, right? And in cases like this, you start to ask yourself, what was missed? What happened that made it look the way that people think they're seeing it, right? Yeah. All right, moving forward.
Way, and that's what I told them from the beginning. But they have to go through their, I forget the word.
Investigation.
They have to do one step at a time, I guess. But I'm sorry that they had to spend so many man hours in these woods and everything. I've seen them limping and everything else, And I feel.
Let me tell you another thing that most of you won't know. Mr. Cardall never watches any of the baseline media when asked to do these things. He'll do them a lot of times by request or by need. He'll try to balance what everyone's seeing with some good science, some good fact-based stuff. Okay, moving on.
I just wish there was a way that neighbors could search neighbors' houses, and then if they're not willing, get a search warrant or something. But there's
Another one who's not very expressive anyway, naturally as part of his movement. The fact that the arms have come down to the side now, I'd need to know what the fingers were doing. Is there any?
Ben's big on the fingers, right? Especially in men, the thumbs is an indicator of dominance. You know, when people hide their thumbs, or you'll see people that will, you know, the thumb is a big indicator that something else is going on in your mind. So Ben Cardall's big on the thumbs. And if you looked at Chris Watts, the way he was doing, you know, this comforting thing, it's the thumbs are exposed. Trezell West had a little bit of that. We all display our thumbs in our personality makeup. We just aren't aware of what we associate our thumbs to, but it is a design in all of us.
Inhibiting behaviors going on in terms of squeezing, tension releases there. Tension and releases, sorry, rather. Feel sorry for them and their man hours. That's a curious statement. That's a curious statement, because there are those that would argue that who have assigned them guilt at this moment, that they feel sorry for them looking in there because they're not there. They, you know, that kind of smiling psychopathic sensibility in terms of following along the case in this instance. There's not a lot of these guys at the moment that's striking any potentially deceptive notions.
Let me tell you, this guy makes a living teaching people, corporations, law enforcement. He's the real deal. He also performs, he's a magician. He is very, very, very brilliant. In fact, he has, it's a murder mystery game that's on the YouTube here. And it goes off the YouTube, and you've got to follow these clues. And it, you know, it starts with a locked room murder scenario. And if anyone doesn't know what that is, there's 3 people in a room and they're all dead. And the door was locked. How did it happen? And then you go through and I'm stuck. I can't beat it. And as far as I know to this point, there's been, when I played, there was 20 or 22 people that have played. And as far as I know, no one had gotten through. Aussie is the one that turned me on to Ben. And so he also consults, right? If you want a consult from him, that's another way that he, that's part of his career, right? So the YouTube is a very small part of what he does. It's more of a hobby, a passion, but it's not his main thing. His main thing is teaching the art and the properties of the Sherlockian homes. He's an awesome guy. So here we go, guys.
There's no way you can search every single house, you know, in the eastern United States or whatever.
Now you're seeing Don's blinking is a little bit more successive, but again, he's got that. Look at the sun now.
You know, I love trying to get information and trying to get her found. And we thank them from the bottom of our hearts. And we thank everybody who's trying so hard and praying so hard. She's an awesome young lady, and we just want her back. Yeah, there's always going to be haters, you know, and it's always going to be that way in this world. And we just want to focus on the good friends and Christian people that are trying to help us and praying for us and praying for Summer. And we thank them from the bottom of our hearts. And that's the kind of people we try to relate with and socialize with. So
Don looks real defeated. You know, I can't see that face right there. It doesn't slap me around like he's the guy. You know, we talked about the other night about our gut lying to us. And I have a pretty good picker. And I can't, it's hard for me to make that stretch, especially after all the time that's transpired. It's hard for me to make the stretch and make Don that person, right? It's just, It's tragic.
So we don't know anything about, no red truck, or we hardly know many of our neighbors. I mean, because we just try to be around good people.
This guy is very, very obvious in his flutters, the moments that cause him particular degrees of tension and anxiety. You'll see he's closed up in terms of talking about the neighbours, specifically referenced the difference between good Christian people and those getting involved. The indications being not everyone in his neighbourhood shares his Christian values in that way. You'll see that the normal blinking starts whenever he feels anything that causes him a degree of tension or anxiety. This is what we'll see.
And we do have good people in this area. We found out since this has all happened. We got some real good neighbors and good folks everywhere. But
The most important thing is to bring Summer home safe. I'm sorry that you feel this way about us, but we love our children with everything we have.
Now, let me tell you what, guys. This is the first time that I've ever, like, it just, someone in the chat said that Don had made a comment. I don't know if this is true or not. They said that Don had made a comment about Candus having had some strokes or something. Now, I just caught it out of the corner of my eye. But what I'll tell you is that during this portion right here, I just saw, look here, guys, the right side of her face, it seems to have a little bit of a palsy droop, or when she talks, the left side of her mouth is moving how you would expect it to, but this right side just seems like it's kind of staying put. I'm going to run it back about 10 seconds, and you guys watch and tell me what you think.
We've never went without, thanks to Summer's daddy and my husband. He's always provided for us and has worked as much as he could and can, and still is. And I'm sorry that you guys feel that way, but that's not.
I don't know. Maybe I was wrong. To me, I still am kind of getting the vibe that she may have not near the control with the right side of her face as she does her left side. But I'm going to keep watching. But she definitely has a lot of pain on her face. I can say that.
A baby, and nobody would ever treat her like that as long as I was around.
Do you see that? When her eyebrows go up, only the left one is going up. And it seems that her right eye is a little more open than her left eye. Like she's got more control on her left side of her face than she does on her right side.
And I'm sorry that you guys feel that way, but that's my baby, and
watch her eyebrows.
nobody would ever treat her like that as long as I was around. Ever.
she loves to dance. She would always want me.
Keep paying attention to it.
Hold my hand so I can twirl, and she
A lot of past tense changes now. She would this, she would that. Interesting. We could raise questions in terms of where their beliefs are at this moment. And again, I'm not assigning any kind of direction one way or the other in terms of my opinion, but it's odd to hear parents talk that way when your child is missing. It's odd. It would need exploring for me moving forward.
she just like to twirl and twirl and twirl till my arm got tired. And I put out there that one of Summer's favorite songs was Godzilla, and they say, and they're jumping all over me about past tense was.
Now, I do want to make mention here, guys, that at this point, any responsible law enforcement, victims advocate, or whatever has discussed with Don and Candus the statistics and what it looks like at this point in respects to the longevity of his daughter, right? So we don't know that they've been told the statistics or they've went and looked at the statistics themselves. They know after 3 hours and 10 hours and then 48 hours, like it's a bad scenario, right? So when you start to hear Don talk in a past tense, you have to remind yourself that he's already been biased. It seems as if you could say that he's been biased in the way he's projecting himself to us, only speaking in past tense, because he has spoken and met and been interviewed by many law enforcement that have told him, Don, don't you know after 3, 10, 48 hours, 96 hours, we got a big problem. And so you have to assume that, we know this was taken sometime in or after that 96-hour period. I think this was like day 5 or something. So at that point, statistically, it has dropped down gravely low. And he's been told this. So that is going to come out in his speech. He's going to verbalize the way in the patterns that he's been hearing. You ever notice how when somebody gets around a police officer, they start talking like a police officer? I mean, that's just built into humans. I don't know what it is about that. I do it, right? You get around a cop and then you start acting like you're a sergeant and shit. I don't know. That's curse number 1. Sorry, guys. So that's, to me, it's interesting. That's why in this case, you can put, in this situation right here, you can really put no weight on the past tense talking, because he's been told that she's probably dead, unfortunately, right? He's been told that. So being told that over and over and over, quite naturally, it's going to come out in his verbiage, right? So here we are. So you can dismiss the talking in past tense because you're biased, knowing, or you have the knowledge of knowing that he's been biased, right? He's been biased with investigator lingo.
Well, I'm sorry about that.
She also liked the song by New Breed. It was called House, My House. She sung that a lot of times when I play it on the TV. She loved to dance.
She liked to think of herself as a princess.
Okay, so he's been questioned about that before, right? Well, I'm sorry. And then nothing else further. That still doesn't offer anything further in terms of why you are here, right? Have you already tried to make peace with the fact that she is gone? Is that what you're doing? Is that how you're trying to cope? Is that how you're trying to move the story on by talking about it in the past tense because you don't want people pushing you further? These are the kinds of things that I would look to explore moving forwards.
And all that, like all young girls do.
She loved Frozen. She loved to be that Elsa. And
I think she really loved to be in church.
You can kind of see her left eye blinks before the right one.
I think you can't explain what that love is.
See that?
You feel it and you know it. When you're young, and she felt that there. And she loved everybody in that church.
I believe she has a palsy or something.
She loves everybody in that church. I should rephrase that because they'll tear that apart as past tense, and I apologize again for that. I hope she gets to come home, and I hope she gets to be with our church family again.
Her best friend in that church was Robin. She loved her to death.
She looked up to women that were.
And then they go back to it anyway.
Went looking for Robin.
I think maybe Mama might like a little drink or two. it's not medical, because I can't get that from you.
See, I'm thinking it's something
You'll
medical.
have to educate me if that is the case. Because that kind of asymmetrical blinking that's going on.
You see that? I haven't watched this, guys.
Odd.
This is my first time watching it, but it's easy to see. I just knew that he would give the situation a fair shake. I have not watched a minute of this, period. We tried to do it last night, but other things came up, and so here we are. So I'm watching this for the first time, just like he's watching them for the first time.
Their favorite person.
Any woman that was professional, that
Pretty,
yeah,
beautiful.
she looked up to those kind of women. She, they were how do you, the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it. But she looked up to them. She'd give them a run for her money every day. She'd give them a run for her money, and there was times, we'd be, that our boys like, don't do this, don't do that. Next thing
You can see the sadness bubbling at the front of Mom's eyes.
Summer, don't do
For
that.
sure.
Summer was the boss of the family. She,
Typical girl.
when they get on line, she put them in line.
She'd do her best.
She loves to play in the mud and the water and swing on her swing and enjoy dirt.
When I run the lawnmower around, she would run behind me. When the boys run their bikes around, she as fast.
You can see Don. It looks like he just came right from work. You can see he's got drywall mud on his neck.
When I run the lawnmower around, she would run behind me. When the
See it? Right there.
boys run their bikes around, she as fast as that little bike would go, she would be behind them running. That's what they keep.
So what we've got as well here in how they talk, there's a lot of reconstructed stories. Reconstructed, no doubt, from things that have actually happened. But they would become so regimented in their detail that they would tell them the same each time. So if you're ever going to pull apart further testimony from them, you would look at the way that they reconstruct details from particular situations where they are emotionally charged. If you're reflecting on moments where your kids would be on your bikes, or Summer being the boss and she would set the boys straight, there would be this overarching absence that would infect the way that you would tell that story, right? So if it's told differently in different situations, that's something to look out for moving forwards.
She loved to run. She just loved to run. And she could pull herself up on that swing, her full body weight with her two hands. And she can do that. None of the other boys can do that, but she can.
Was she in school yet?
No.
She's going this year.
This was supposed to be her first year.
She's
Getting
going,
her.
we did all the, what?
I took care of everything.
Yeah.
I had her.
Now you see the sun is starting to really, it's moving. So now it's on Candus now, whereas it's essentially moved away from Don.
We did all the, what?
I
See?
took care of everything.
Yeah.
I had her already took on all of her shots and registered in the school for ready for this year.
I just never expected for anyone to get hold of my heart like she has. Because I try to guard my heart as much as I can, but she holds my heart in her hands. I love her with all my heart.
We can definitely say there's definitely something about Summer, other than the fact that she's missing, that has captured all of our hearts. Our feelings for Summer are the very reasons why we're attacking each other personally and all of the other stuff, right? It's such an emotionally charged situation that situation that everybody is battling, right? It's affecting their real life. There's real physical, real world emotions involved. So you can see that it's a high tension situation. It's hard. That's all. When you try to think of another word that's just means more than hard, it's just hard. That's it. It's a lot.
I'd do anything to have her back. There's any way you can find it in your heart to please release her somehow. I don't know how you might do it.
It's all being spoken at the same pitch, the same tone, the same frequency. There's no increased breathing patterns. There's no increased pulse races. There's no spikes in anxiety. There's no change in position. There's no gestural discomfort. There's no confirmation glances between each other.
Yeah, so the confirmation glances are a big thing that you see when you've got more than one person being interviewed or making a statement. It's just like when you go with your significant other or your children or whoever to the movies and you're sitting next to each other, and when something funny happens, we always laugh and then we look at who we came with. And that is, it's a look of validation. It's like you're looking to make sure that you guys are on the same accord. And so that's what that is. And you can arm yourself with what that is, that look of validation when you see other interviews. Now, that look of validation, it's not a sign necessarily of guilt or of innocence, because that look can happen in both scenarios.
Right? All of these are big signs when you're looking at potential areas to explore for levels of deceptive behavior.
If there's any way you can find it in your heart to please release her somehow. I don't know how you might do that. I mean, but you're probably scared of going to prison for the rest of your life and everything else, I'm sure. But please find it in your heart, have mercy. And
now you can see right here, guys, it does appear that he's got his hand on her leg or on her back. He is consoling her in some way, in my opinion. I mean, you just see that his arm goes right through here, right? It doesn't go down. It's stretched out for her. And he's leaned down, cocked towards her. His left shoulder is turned in towards her. So there is some comforting going on. A lot of people said, "Oh, they didn't even come." He's comforting her right there, without a doubt.
find a way of letting her go, and where we can get her back. And just please have mercy on her, and and us, and her brothers. And she's such a loving, good spirit. Please don't hurt her. Please.
Now, people said that Don has never made a plea for his daughter. He's made many pleas for his daughter. Here you go. I don't want to say this is the first one. Could be. But it's definitely a plea.
And us, and her brothers. And she's such a loving, good spirit. Please don't hurt her. Please let her come home. Because my biggest fear is, her being tormented or locked in a dungeon or basement or something. Because she loved to be outside all the time. That was her. Unfortunately, her downfall. Because a lot of times the boys would be inside and we'd be like, "Where's Summer? Why'd you leave her out there alone? Go get Summer now." And that's happened over and over again. And we'd come out, and she would always be close by, but we was always coming up. She had to be outside. She was an outdoor person. Hard.
So this guy's the religious one in the house. Her husband, mum isn't particularly religious at all in this area.
At first glance, right? You couldn't say that definitively without, that's my opinion. He's much more certified to make certain decisions. I don't know if that being one of them, but to me, I think that, that there's definitely times where, it may be hard for someone to distinguish, right? It's not a conversation about Jesus in particular. So it stands to reason that you're asking the questions as they come, and not much more than that.
That's going to be a bone of contention if it's not been spoken about between the two of them already. Yeah. I mean, there are some things between the dynamic of these two as husband and wife not being spoken about. In terms of comfort for each other. During those times when Maddie was taken, the McGanns, and again, regardless of guilt or innocence, their behaviour as a couple, each was there for the other in terms of support, some kind of stability for the other when the other one lacked in this moment. Mum is definitely lacking. Yeah.
I'm locked away where she can't be outside or play with a puppy or anything. Love nature, and that's my greatest fear, that she's not able to do any of these things anymore, or that she could possibly, I don't want to think she's dead, but it's a possibility.
Now, that's not because Don knows that she's dead, guys. That's because he's been talking to many different law enforcements, TBI, Hawkins County Sheriffs, the FBI, EquiSearch. He's had many, many people talking to him about statistics, the timeline, all of those things. So you have to bear in mind that. Now, you can see his arm here. He's still comforting her. Okay? Make no mistake. He's comforting her.
To have, focus on the positive, so easy to get lost in the negative. I get that. On the surface, a mentally healthy thing to do. But to glaze over that, yeah, she might be dead. In the same way that you've been talking about everything else. Now, that's not painting him in a particularly strong emotional palette, right?
I'll say this. I don't think that I would want to sit and talk a lot about her death or her, the ideal of her death. And so that's where my opinion would differ from Ben. It's the Ben's. My opinion would differ there because I believe that you want to stay in the solution and stay in the hope, right? So I think that him passing off, talking about that part is highly acceptable. IMO.
Neither one of them are very expressive naturally anyway. But that doesn't paint him in a very good light there. That might be why he talks more about in terms of the past tense then, because he's lost hope, right? Which would explain the tense change, which would explain why he spoke about, yeah, she's dead. I don't want to think about it, but there's the possibility.
There you go. So sorry, I'm not conflicting with Ben. He just hadn't got to that part. I wouldn't stay there long either. you don't want to stay there long. You just don't. That's why there's such a thing as faith and hope. Hope is a lot of times misidentified. It's really faith. Hope is faith. If you hope something happens, then you put your faith out there to be disappointed if it doesn't, right? So that's actually, hope is faith. It's just a unbiblical. It's an unbiblical way of saying that I have faith it's going to happen.
That might be where he's at the moment. I would need more information to have an opinion on guilt or innocence. There we go. Yeah, an odd one. An odd one more so than anything. Poor Summer. It's never pleasant when anything happens involving kidnapping, especially children. But gives us a lot of food for thought in terms of what we immediately expect to be there based on our own biases of what we think should be there, right? Not understanding that the absence of evidence isn't the absence of a plea for innocence in that area, right? Just because they aren't acting in a way that general populace X expects them to as parents doesn't make them guilty. Makes them different, doesn't make them guilty. That being said, the things between the couple that aren't necessarily being spoken about in terms of their dynamic, that might be a bone of contention within the family household. Whether it be medical or booze related, or whether she's had work on her teeth that's affecting her current mental health at that moment, because her blinking being that isolated is an offset of energy within her that's not being leaked out. It's being held in, and when you hold in that much repression, it's going to explode forth somewhere along the lines, whether it be an explosion of sadness or any other kind of moment is for her to say, because I don't know enough about it, to know that kind of dynamic. Neither partner is very naturally expressive. We can see that in the skin, we can see that in their gestures. Dad is more expressive in terms of anxiety and tension.
When he says expressive in their skin, what he means is, you see these lines right here, expression lines, right? These are naturally in people's faces in the spots where they show the most common expressive traits. People get them in different places. So when he says, if you look at Candus's face, she doesn't have too much of these, expressive lines. So, and I'm assuming he's read Don in that way too. Probably more, I would think that it would be more Don's verbal cadence and pattern that lead you to believe that he's non-expressive, because he's got a lot of wear on him, just like all of us do when we get to our good years, right?
Tension in his eyelids and his breathing, but throughout their breathing patterns rarely shifted. Their discomfort or comfort within the chairs didn't really change. There was no tension and release moments that I noticed on that first watching anyway. I'm going to go back.
Tension and release is like in your, here, let me turn my camera on for anyone that's not really aware of what a tension release is. That could be anything as, hold on. That could be anything as easy as having your hand on your leg and you're just squeezing it, or you're picking at something, or it's a release, right? You're looking for the valve, right? It could be your leg tapping, or it could be you messing with your beard. I sometimes, when I'm nervous, will mess with the beard. So essentially what he's saying is he saw no tension release. Some people may even squeeze their mandible muscles. They were just there organically. That's the way that it. What do we got going on here? Okay. I'm trying to make it through alive without the chat just.
A better understanding and get so they can get a higher degree of information to build a better picture of what's going on up here. But yeah, he addressed that during the decision in terms of talking about past tense. But the mum started it off in terms of the whole past tense change. So whether that's going to be a bone of contention between the two of them again, that his lack of hope is going to bring her down because she's trying to remain eternally hopeful and he's not the dad, and she's, this kind of tension may be leaking out there, which ultimately means that it's going to be an even less pleasant place for the boys to be in that particular scenario. Not that it was ever going to be positive for quite some time anyway, but given that kind of unspoken tension that's not being dealt with, is quite a challenge. But there's not many signs of deception there, if any. There's definitely a number of areas to explore further when you look at the impact markers of comfort and situational discussions. Are they sitting in chairs that they know? Are they in a place that they know?
Right. So when you're sitting like this is my chair, I'm very comfortable in this chair. I know when I sit down, I know what to expect. One of the tactics that they have used and maybe still use is they'll use a chair that has a bent leg or a leg that's just a fraction shorter, and you will just do things to self-soothe. Now, when you're sitting down in a chair that's not comfortable to you, you're all the time, you're getting yourself adjusted. It's like driving a car that's not yours or whatever that's not yours that you use as someone else's. You've got to kind of personalize it. And you didn't see them spending a bunch of time personalizing the sitting arrangement for themselves. So you could deduce that potentially they were sitting in chairs of their own.
Well, are they warm? Are they cold? Right? Because it doesn't give us a grander kind of chronological dynamic of the way their displays change in this moment. So that's what I would look to do if I were talking to these guys moving forwards, is to change the environment. Look at the way that other areas may or may not impact their behavior to see if their default settings are going to remain the same or they're going to change, because that would raise new questions for us to answer moving forwards from there. So lots to think about in terms of that interview. So that was a good one. Thanks to you guys for sending that in.
So the request.
Any more, by all means, drop them in the comments below. I'd like to know what you guys think is going on as well, just because that would provide me some more information and me some more understanding of the cases. I'm not going to hear anything about it being in the UK. So with that in mind, if you got anything out of the discussion, do subscribe to the channel, like the video and all that jazz. I shall see you real soon. Next time I talk to you, I'll be a married man. Actual grown-up. Wow. All right, guys. Hope everyone's keeping safe and well. Talk to you soon.
All right, guys. What'd you think? What did you think? Did you think that was informative? Who is this guy? That's Ben Cardall, Debbie. Catch the replay. I missed the part about, hold on, where'd you go, Millie? I missed the part about the tension. Is he saying that they haven't dealt with the tension? He's saying that there is something between them, but he was meaning visual tension releases. you're just something that is an outward expression of how you're feeling inwards. And it's usually, a balling up or a picking at something or just a little slight rock or, self-soothing, right? We know in the Chris Watts and in other cases that the suspects, when they're guilty and in front of a camera, there's this real propensity to self-soothe, whether it be, like you've got a sore elbow or shoulder, or you're hugging yourself, or whatever. There's there's these things that you do that you don't know you're doing. I mean, it's the science of body language. Now, the deal with body language in voice analysis is that it isn't a forensic science, meaning that it doesn't have an output, right? When you put DNA and other information into a machine, and then it gives you an output, right? It spits out a receipt. A receipt is an output. Like when you go put money in at the grocery store and it gives you a receipt, the receipt is the output. Then you look at what's on the receipt and you can interpret your whole trip from the store, right? So there isn't any output for voice analysis. There's no output for body language. It is all opinion, all of it. Now, as so many people know, and as so many people don't know, when you're standing in the courtroom in front of 12 jurors and you're making your case, as a prosecutor, there are all sorts of different mind games and things, and even the defense will do it as well. Both sides will play mind games, intellectual type games that are the very design of them is to trick people or to change bias. It's different than just saying, oh, this is the smoking gun and this is the house and this is the body. It's not that. It's more than that. So it's like an EVP as well. You're not going to have any the output is what you hear. That's EVP, but there's no way to certify that, right? There's no EVP interpreter, right? So like, the people that give you a CT scan, for instance, right? That person who operates the machine has enough hours in the field to actually, with a great percentage, deliver the results, right? They could tell you, but they can't because they don't have the doctorate, right? So when you have the doctorate, they don't need to know how to run the machine. They don't need to know how to calibrate it or any of that. They just come in and they look at it and they say, yeah, it's somewhat like meteorology. Meteorology is right sometimes, and when it's wrong, it's really wrong. And that's the same way with reading scans and different things. So these sciences, there's no output, right? Go look at Todd Grande, and he discusses his feelings towards the polygraph examination process. And he said there is absolutely no science to it. There's not. They cannot convict you because of it, first of all. In the Chris Watts situation, all Chris Watts had to do was take the test, fail it, and then say, I don't know what you're talking about, right? I want to talk to my lawyer. But Chris Watts, and this isn't how you beat a murder. It's a whole lot more to it. But, Chris Watts sat there then, and based upon the weight and the pressure of him feeling or knowing that he was deceitful, and now these two people know, that weight made him crack. Whereas your more hardened criminal will be like, this test don't mean nothing. Prove it. That's it. Prove it. That's all you got to do, right? Like, I took the test to be nice, but now you're saying I failed the test. Prove it. Because it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. It doesn't matter. That test doesn't mean nothing. That test, all it's really used to do, it does two things. It excludes non-suspects. It will make a potential suspect into a witness or less. But if you're innocent, what it does is if you're guilty, what it does is open up the floodgates of pressure, right? Pressure. And we all know pressure bust pipes, cast iron pipes, right? Pressure bust pipes. So pressure, like we're going to crack under enough and the right type of pressure. And that's what you saw. I mean, you had a scenario where if Chris Watts would have kept his mouth shut, who knows how long he could have gotten away with it, right? So the pressure of them telling him he was deceitful on the test, he folded, like paper. So, guys, that's my reaction to yeah, thank you, Casey. Can you get access to CL? I wouldn't want access, but yes, I could. But Chris and I, we have a different agenda. So, no, I mean, I have no interest in. You're welcome, Mel. I have no interest in mingling with the likes of Mr. Chris. Are you allowed to put them under people's windshield? I don't know. Stores get strict. So I don't even know where to jump in. Let's talk about this petition really quick. We can and we will do that. We can and we will do that. All right. Here's the petition, ladies. 1,606. It's a beautiful thing. Look at that. Look at that there. Payao. It's still going. Oh, look, there's a dude. Thank you, sir. So we're at 1,600, guys. Man, we need about 100,000 more. So come on, let's get this thing shared, man. Thank you, Rage. Thank you. So there we go, guys. That's my take on it. Take it or leave it, right? You heard where I disagreed with certain things, but that's of course because I have a prior knowledge of scenarios that Don's been involved with the police. So I know the kinds of questions he's been asked, and I know what's been told to him and put in his head. It's not because Don's told me; it's because it's the same protocol for every case, right? So I know what they asked you from a couple of cases ago. So, guys, I love you guys. I'll probably be back on later on this afternoon. I've got some more honeydew stuff, and I don't mean fruit or melons. I got some honeydew stuff to do. And it's not even honeydew stuff anymore. It's boy, you better. She said, boy, you better. Anyways, guys, I love all of y'all individually, man. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Whether you liked or disliked the message, please hit one or the other on the way out. Please, it affects the algorithm, and that's what we're trying to do. Anyways, guys, remember, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Stay on your A game and keep your head up like your nose is bleeding.